So you're all on your own and you've got something to prove. You're a hardcore solo veteran with the skills to take on the server. You're gonna crush the competition and stack up loot until you're the richest solo around. And you need a base that can get you there. What you need is the bridge. The bridge is the latest and greatest in hardcore solo architecture. With modern Widegap Peekdowns, symmetrical full vision catwalks, a dedicated bedroom, and a variety of spawn points and flank options, this daunting fortress will freeze raiders in their tracks as they frantically try to figure out where you're going to strike from next. In its final form, the base's build cost is quite a bit cheaper than my previous solo build and provides all the same online raid defense capabilities. The numbers on screen take into account every endgame upgrade and all deployables as well, so you can expect the base to cost significantly less during the mid-game of your wipe. A brute force side-in raid will be deceptively expensive for raiders if they want to hit your main loot, and there's almost no chance they'll grief your base in an online raid because they'd first have to spend 32 additional rockets on your external TCs. With all that out of the way, let's take a tour of the base. We're greeted by one of our two gatehouse variants. This one sports a set of embrasures and industrial doors that give us almost 360-degree vision coverage. This is great for spotting out door campers or fighting back into your compound during an online raid. Entering into the compound, we see that 4 auto turrets provide 100% coverage of the area, making it impossible to breach your core without first destroying them. Widegap Peekdowns overlook you no matter where you stand, so raiders will have to constantly be on their toes wondering where you're going to pop out next and rain down fire. Heading into our airlock, we see a nice bit of drop-off storage and a sturdy path of garage doors leading up to our core. Jumping up to the shooting floor, we see a symmetrical design that houses our dedicated bed and battery room right in the center. This allows our electrical devices to stay online even if the core is being pummeled with rockets, and renders raiders unable to push in without also sending a barrage into the upper floor. Hidden inside the external TC compartments outside, there are also 2 flank bedrooms to quickly get back into the fight from any angle, and 2 drop rooms for fast storage without entering your compound. Back inside the shooting floor, we can see that there are 4 identical Widegap peaks that are each sectioned off, so even if one is compromised, you can continue to fight back. These gaps provide fantastic coverage of the compound and make you very difficult to hit. And because of the open nature of the shooting floor, you can move between them quickly and easily to keep yourself repositioned. Moving on to the catwalks, again we make use of the gap provided by our external TCs to give us more angles into the compound. The entirety of the catwalk, both inside and outside, are covered by one very sneaky auto turret, and this quarter wall peak provides super wide coverage into the compound. Ladder hatches allow you to travel quickly from your shooting floor into the compound and vice versa, so you have multiple different locations to enter and exit the base even if one becomes destroyed. Heading up to one of our 2 symmetrical roof ramps, we can see that it's sectioned off and airlocked by 2 double doors, and raiders' lives will promptly be ended at the hands of a shotgun trap if they try to follow you down. Jumping out onto the roof, we see that 4 auto turrets provide an impenetrable crossfire across the entire surface, and are even assisted by the previously noted catwalk turrets. Nobody's landing a scrap heli on this roof. Heading back down into the heart of the base, we arrive at our 2nd floor loot rooms. There's plenty of room for all of your important deployables, and 8 large boxes sit securely behind honeycombed shelves that raiders have to destroy to get any further. Down into the core of the base, we see 2 additional honeycombed loot rooms with a ton more storage and 2 vending machines to guard your most valuable loot. Because this base is protected by 4 external TCs, even if raiders take the fastest possible path to your main TC, they'll have to spend an additional 14 rockets to destroy the window and vending machines and enter your main loot room, and they won't get any of the vending machine's contents. That's about it for the base tour. Let's get into the build. As with any base using external TCs and a wider footprint, it's best that you find a flat spot to build. Verify that the footprint will fit before you put down your starter. Lay out the foundations for a basic 3x1 with honeycombing like this. Add 3 triangles on each of the short ends. When you're done, this is how it should look. Then cut it back down. Upgrade the foundations to stone. Surround the 3x1 starter footprint with walls and close the center off with a door. When placing your TC, ensure that it's as close to the square tile as possible without blocking your ability to place a window frame in front of it later. Now you have a basic starter. Fill it with your early game items. Without an airlock, our starter base is extremely vulnerable to someone going deep, so expand it as soon as possible. Pick up your furnace and place this triangle in front of the entrance. Use the furnace as a temporary jump up, and then build your second floor elevator like so. This is an advanced level build, so I'm going to assume you have some basic knowledge about concepts like elevators and twig buildups. Speaking of twig buildups, drop outside and put this one down temporarily to get up to the second floor. We'll build a proper entrance to the base soon enough. Now we have a functioning airlock and we don't risk losing all of our loot if someone manages to kill us with the door open. Once you start to run out of space for items in the core, it's time to build out the second floor. Come down outside the base and honeycomb the back like so. We'll have access to this honeycomb at any later time to upgrade it to sheet metal or HQM, so don't worry about what grade it is right now. With the rear honeycombing complete, we can fill out the second floor. Wrap your way around with walls like so, and close it off with a door. Now you can add the second floor half-shelf loot rooms as shown. Later, these rooms will be closed off with windows, but make sure that they're fully upgraded to sheet metal before you do that, because you won't be able to upgrade them once they're closed in, and they're integral to the raid cost of your base. At this point, you're likely to have obtained the garage door blueprint, so let's properly build out the first floor as well. Place down the workbench and craft up your garage doors. Replace them wherever possible, and pick up all your starter items so we can place this half-shelf build-up and make an elevator in the core. Now you can make 2 half-shelves in your core loot rooms as well, but don't seal them off with windows until they're upgraded to high qual. Head upstairs and use the triangle loot rooms for storage right now. At this point, I advise that you upgrade at least the entire bottom floor and jump up to sheet metal so that the base is an 8 rocket raid. With those upgrades complete, you'll probably want easy access into the base and onto the roof, so let's build our final entrance. Come outside and remove your twig jump up. Upgrade the foundation to stone and build a circle around the entrance. Line it with a wall, a window, and a door in the center. The innermost triangles become honeycomb, and then we start outfitting the rest of the entrance as shown. Half wall here, jump up here. Half wall here, loot room here. Industrial door in the middle, facing out, and windows on the side. If you don't have armored windows yet, glass ones will suffice for now. Build your way up to the second floor and continue filling things out as I'm doing on screen. Finally, head up to the third floor and put an elevator down for roof access. Now you have a proper entrance with optional drop-off storage and the ability to check for door campers. At this point in the video, I'm going to build everything at its final level of materials, so it's up to you to decide when to upgrade things to sheet metal or HQM. The 2 most important upgrades are the second floor loot rooms and the core loot rooms because they both act as honeycombing in the base, so I'm going to show you how to finish them off right now. Start by armoring the entirety of the core, with the exception of the half shelves which can be upgraded to sheet metal. Then place your deployables as shown. You want the large boxes to be snugged together in the middle of the loot rooms as far back as possible. This will allow you to place the small boxes as far to the sides as possible in front of them. You can stand on top of a large box in the middle of the room to make the small box placement easier. When you're done, you can window off the loot rooms so they act as an additional 8 rocket barrier into the core. Later, you could even armor them to turn them into a 15 rocket barrier. Just be sure to upgrade both the shelf and the window frame. Moving on to the TC, ensure that everything behind it is armored, and then place down the window frame. Put 2 vending machines down so there's a small gap between them. This isn't a pixel perfect technique, but it is difficult, and extremely hard to fix if you do it wrong. Rotate the vending machines so you can use them as storage, and seal in the tool cupboard with an armored window and a metal embrasure. Make sure to repair these items each time you pick them up and replace them so they don't break. Jumping up onto the first floor elevator, place a bed such that its bottom edge is halfway past the wall frame of the garage door. This will allow you to squeeze in 2 small boxes between the bed and the vending machines, and still allows space for a turret under the jump up later. That's pretty much the core. Now come upstairs and upgrade everything in the triangle half-shelf loot rooms to sheet metal so you can window them off as well. I'm speeding this whole process up to respect your valuable time, but in reality, this will take a bit. You'll probably have to pick up some boxes in order to access certain tiles for upgrading. When it's all said and done, you can slap down the 2 window frames, and that completes your second floor loot rooms. As I mentioned before, I'm going to do the rest of the building at its final grade, so you'll have to decide when to make the rest of the upgrades for yourself. I'll quickly go over the second floor deployables, and then we'll make the final honeycombing upgrades before moving on to the compound. Remove your level 2 workbench and fill the last 2 wall frame spots with garage doors. In one of the empty squares, place a research table against the corner such that a large box fits beneath it and a small box beside it. Place the repair bench on the other wall and a couple of small boxes under that. A sleeping bag goes into the middle and 1 or 2 more boxes go across. Moving on to the other room, we can place a locker, then the tier 3 workbench, and a small box beneath it. If the locker placement was flush, a barbecue and a few more small boxes should be able to go alongside it. And that pretty much completes the second floor loot rooms. Come outside and fill out the remaining 3 spots that need to be honeycombed. The first spot is the triangles behind the entrance. The second spot is the triangles on either side of the 3x1. And finally, these 2 triangles at the back of the base. Now, depending on your progression during the wipe and when you find yourself in need of large furnaces, the compound can come at any point in the build. For the purposes of this video though, I'll be adding it in now. In order to build our compound, we first need to place our external TCs. We'll be using 2 slightly different methods, so pay attention to which one is used where. We'll start with the front and back TCs. Build out with a 1, 2, and 3 half moons. Then cap it off with a square foundation and a triangle foundation. Remove the half moons, and then come back out to the square. Build in towards the base with additional squares until there's only room for 1 more tile, and fill that one with a triangle. Then cap it off with your TC. I know that was a little fast, so I'll go over it one more time on the other side as well. On the back side, first fill in this foundation with a triangle and upgrade it to stone. Then build out 1, 2, and 3 half moons. Cap it off with a square and a triangle, then remove the half moons. Build back in with squares, but leave the last tile for a triangle. And then cap it off with your TC. For the sides of the base, it's a little bit more complicated, but not too much. Build out 3 triangles from the honeycomb, and then start your 3 half moons. 1, 2, and 3. Cap this one off with a single triangle though, and then remove everything else. Build back with squares, and leave the last space for a triangle. Put a triangle on each side of this one as well. Then head back to the end and put down the TC. The process will be identical on the other side, so I'll speed it up. This is what it should look like when it's done. It's important that you replicate these steps precisely, because if you build out even 1 triangle more or less than shown, the shooting floor and roof will not be possible to build. Take your time and practice in a build server if necessary. Let's get to the compound. We're using 2 separate gatehouses here, so let's go with the smaller one that'll be built at the front and the back of the base first. Walk out to the 3rd square foundation and build a single door frame on each end of it, soft sides facing towards the base. Then add window frames on the sides. A half wall goes on top of the closest door frame as well. Fill the windows with embrasures and the door frames with industrial doors. Then slap a metal barricade on top. Repeat the process on the other side. For the gatehouses on the sides of the base, go to the first square foundation and build out as shown. The process is similar, just with more embrasures and no half wall. Use twig triangles to assist in placing these two metal barricades. Then repeat the process on the other side. With the gatehouses complete, place down your compound walls. Watch how I align them. The first wall should be placed touching the larger gatehouse, facing the embrasure of the smaller gatehouse as shown. The second wall should be placed halfway between the embrasure such that you can see through either side of it from the gatehouse, like this. The last wall should fit in the middle naturally. Repeat the process 3 more times. And this is what it should look like when it's done. At some point, you should upgrade your external TCs and the small gatehouses, so I'll show you that process now. Come out to the small gatehouse and build these doorways on either side. Turn around and build 2 window frames and another doorway facing out from the TC. Now we have our drop rooms and double airlock. Fill out the drop room as shown on screen. I know that I didn't maximize the usage of space in this room, so if you have a more efficient layout, please share it. I would love to see. Upgrade the TC compartment to sheet metal to make it an 8-rocket raid. Now repeat on the other side. Now for the other 2 externals. Simply wall in the square in front of them and seal them in with a single armored door. You can use this space for anything you'd like, such as additional large batteries, more storage, or my personal favorite, the flank bedroom shown in the introduction to the video. Finish up on the other side and that should complete our compound. Here's how it should look. The final stage of the build is the shooting floor and roof. Start by coming back into the compound and building the following support structures. Four wall frames go on each side of the base, like so. And as shown before, it's a wall frame half wall here and 2 wall frames here. With the support structures complete, you're ready to build the shooting floor and bedroom. Carefully follow your way around the shooting floor and build the perimeter as shown. It's best to keep everything twig while you do this, because it's the part you're most likely to get wrong at some point. Come up above the roof ramp exits and place the ramps. At the center of the shooting floor, build your bedroom facing away from the second floor jump up. Once it's placed, you'll be able to fill out the entirety of the roof. Make your way up to the top and seal everything off with your roof access elevators. Open everything up and we'll build out the rest of the shooting floor. We'll be placing the same square and triangle 4 times symmetrically around the roof ramps. The square should be built off of the main base like this, and the triangle should be built off the support structure outside. This is important because it's what properly forms our Widegap Peekdowns. Continue the process around the rest of the base, and then finish it off with metal embrasures. The final addition to our shooting floor is the catwalks. Ensure that you execute the following steps in precisely the same order as I show you, because we're relying on some stability tricks in order to get everything to work. Place 2 square tiles off of the first support structure, and a ladder hatch off of the second one. A wall frame goes in between the first 2 squares, and then line everything with window frames. Add this roof tile here, and another one opposite, but leave the middle open. Come down below and place these 2 twig half walls to allow for a twig floor tile here. If done correctly, 2 connecting ramps should be placeable like so. Then demolish the twig. Finish it off with your quarter wall peak and your embrasures. Later on, you can add this auto turret hood as well. And then repeat the same process on the other side. I recommend upgrading the entirety of the catwalks to metal if you become inundated with an excess of frags. They're your strongest tool in defending against an online raid, and forcing raiders to spend at least 8 rockets just to break off a piece of them is a great deterrent. The last structural upgrade on this floor is a triangle space here, which you can fill with either a large battery or a locker. I'll leave it up to you to fill out this floor, but here's how mine usually looks. And that finishes the stage of the build. One last thing before we move on to the final stage of the build. This triangle is great for furnaces in the early game, but I suggest either a locker or a large battery be placed here later. It's protected by a minimum of 2 walls from the outside and has some distance from the core, so it's a great spot for one. In the final stage of the build, we'll finish off the battlements on the roof and add a few deployables. Build a roof ramp off of each of the square tiles in the corners like this, and then add a window frame on the triangles next to them. Fill the windows with embrasures. Place a small box and a campfire behind it in front of each embrasure. This allows you to step up and down across a small box without leaving yourself vulnerable to additional gunfire by having to jump on it. There are many ways you can outfit the empty space in the middle of the roof. One of my favorite ways to do so is to add this minicopter hangar. You could also build any sort of heli tower such as this one. It's really up to you. Windmills can be added whenever you have the need for extra power, and I prefer mine to be at the ends of the catwalks, but that's just one option. The last thing I'll go over is the auto-turret placements in the order that I believe they should be placed for solo progression. The first and foremost priority as a solo player is ensuring that your compound is secure. You don't have time to stand around and babysit your large furnaces while they're cooking, because you need to be out progressing. To that end, the first turrets I recommend that you place are these 2 in the compound, making sure that they are offset on the same side to allow passage through the single door. Together, these 2 turrets cover the entire compound, so you don't have to worry about your precious resources being stolen while you're out and about. Second on the list are a couple of roof turrets. These 2 placed above your roof ramps will provide excellent coverage against an early game top-down raid, and you can even close them off to guard them against aerial HV rocket assaults. Use a large box to assist you if you're having trouble placing them precisely. The biggest weak point of the catwalk designs are the fact that raiders can make a small breach inside them and then use them against you as a positional advantage. To prevent this clever auto turret can see both above and below the catwalk to stop anyone from using them against you. Coming back down inside the compound, I typically like to double up on ground turrets early to make a side-in, pummel-style raid more difficult. Even if your entire core is exposed, raiders will have a ton of trouble actually looting anything without first destroying 2 or 3 of these guys to get into the breach. In case of a raid through your 3rd floor with ladders, you want to make sure raiders can't control your shooting floor and bedroom for free. So these 2 turrets will provide ample coverage into the shooting floor, the catwalks, and your bedroom. Make sure to shut any garage doors that are underneath to allow placement. As you can see, these turrets add great coverage to every element of your shooting floor. Heading down into the core, these 2 auto turrets will prevent anyone from looting your boxes if there's a hole in your base, buying you time to fight back and seal the breach. Finally, head back out onto the roof and place these 2 auto turret compartments. They shield the turret from rocket fire and render them extremely difficult to shoot out from outside. Together with the roof ramp turrets, they provide a deadly defense matrix across the roof. That pretty much wraps things up for the build. As with any of my builds, this is just a platform for you to build on or modify in any way you see fit. I am by no means a professional level builder, and I welcome you to suggest any improvements you might have. Many of my design choices come from my own experiences playing on high-pop vanilla servers. For example, you'll notice that much of the floor space in the design is left empty instead of being crammed full of boxes. This is because I value a high level of mobility through the base. Every second spent maneuvering through your base could mean the difference between winning or losing a raid. I hope that you enjoyed this build and don't hesitate to let me know how I could do better in future videos. It would make my day if you considered subscribing to the channel, and I hope to see you again soon.